Hello again. My name is John Lee from Dashboard Dudes. I want to thank you for coming to my presentation called From Basic Eggs to Delicious Frittatas, How a Little Bit of Work Can Make Your Visuals Pop. Now, if you've seen me before, you probably recognize me from Domo, where I did a presentation called If Data is Like Cooking, How to Keep a Clean Kitchen, where I went over naming conventions, tagging, and ETLs while simultaneously showing how to make a grilled cheese. If anything, just watch it for the grilled cheese and you'll thank me later. One person actually commented on my techniques and said that their son loved it. So it was very fun to hear that. Feeding children. That's what I'm doing. Okay, in this presentation, we're going to talk about how to make visuals pop. And at first you might be thinking, do I really need that? Is that just bells and whistles? And here is my philosophy on this. If you want to instill a data-driven culture, you need to get people excited about data. That's why you need to actually invest in the visuals, because if no one is willing to look at it, if it doesn't look good, if you plate it and food doesn't look good, no one's going to want to eat it. So if you do a little bit of work to make your visuals pop, people will get excited, and now you are getting the ball rolling and instilling a data-driven culture. I actually wrote an article about that, which I'm very happy to share with you as well. All right, so we're going to specifically talk about three things in this presentation. We're going to talk about shapes, colors, and context. And I want you to keep those in your mind as we go through this and how this applies to your dashboards already. Shape, color, context. All right, before we start, I'd like to show you something and I'd like to express something. This is probably my favorite part, the visualization of all dashboarding. We have the engineering part where we have to go get our data. We have the analytical part, we have to cut it up and we have to do the ETLs and whatnot. But the visual part, that's art to me. How do we convey information so that somebody can pick it up and understand it within 1 to 3 seconds? That's kind of all you got. So what I have here is I have all chart types. If you're going to a Chinese restaurant and it's like a comic book and they have photos of every single item, you're like, oh, that's what rice looks like. Now I finally know what rice looks like. They have photos of every single thing, right? I did the same exact thing for all chart types. So what you can see here is you can see every chart title, which section it's under, and you can expand it if you want to get a further view of it. But I got crazy and I just did this. So I will show you how to get to this page at the end of this presentation. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is shape. So I'd like to give you a story. I was in a marketing meeting a long time ago with all the marketing leads. We had the lead of paid search, SEO, email, paid social and organic social, and non-digital in a room talking to the VP of marketing. And one person presented a slide that looked exactly like this, except without any color. It was essentially a black and white table. Now imagine looking at this and imagine that somebody is talking at you while you're trying to understand what's going on. It's so hard to digest this. And I remember when I saw this in a room, I thought, this cannot be real right now. What is this person doing? And they could have picked a better shape or just done little things to tell the story differently. I know sometimes we want to put everything into one chart, and maybe that's good, but breaking it out into little bite-sized pieces is going to be better for you. So one thing we're going to go over is we can change the shape. Here is a stacked bar chart. And what I like to do here is we're going to go to popular charts. You could pick vertical bar. We have a stacked bar chart right here. I always like to put anything with time linearly. It's very easy for us to think about time going left to right as opposed from top to bottom. It's really, really tricky when you think about it that way. So doing this changes the shape. Now we can see spend by portfolio company over time. Cool. Are we able to see the insights? We can see that there's peaks and valleys of spend cumulatively, but in terms of one specific insight, kind of hard to see so far, but we'll get to that in a minute. So one is we could do a stacked bar chart to show this different shape of the insight. We can also do an area chart. So why would I pick an area chart over a bar chart? Who cares? Well, there is a little bit of a difference. One that we can do here visually, if you don't really need to put a lot of numbers into it, you just want to show information, is you can look at the thickness of the bar. So now we can start to see, oh, this area, the thickness of the area is increasing right here for company C in November and December. Okay, cool. That tells me it had a higher proportional growth than compared to some other portfolio companies. And we could try to see, well, here in July, it was really small. So that is where we can use a different shape again to convey the insight we need to right away. Another one, though, is just using a cumulative chart. So with the previous two, it's really hard to see, well, who's doing the best so far. However, if I go to line, running total, and put in my inputs here, now the shape tells me something a little bit different. If I were to ask you at the stack bar chart and the area chart, which portfolio company has the most spend so far, it's really hard to see. However, if we do a running total, we could see here, oh, there's this gap happening. They're all spending at relatively the same pace, but the green one and the pink one, company D and company C, this gap that emerged in October is really what kind of made that spread go up in terms of more incremental spending. Again, this is all fake data, but something like that. So now we're able to tell the insights much, much, much faster by just changing the shape of what we're doing. Okay. Now, that's all over time. Another thing we can do here is a bubble chart. And I like to use bubble charts to convey two different distinct types of metrics. So we have it here is we have show me the top 10 countries. I have Sri Lanka, Bahrain, Iraq, etc. Show me the y-axis is the level of spend, and the bubble size is the revenue, and the colors represent the different portfolio companies. So what I can see here is like, okay, cool. Now can we get the insights much, much, much faster? What's obvious about it? Well, as we see spend going up, cool. We see that this green one and this blue one are actually spending more money than the other countries are doing it, right? Or then are spending more money in these specific countries than in other countries. Okay, cool. We can see that. But we can also see here, like, all right, in Malta, we're spending a lot, but we're also getting good revenue compared to some of the other ones. In Slovakia, we are not spending a lot of money, but we're getting a really good return on revenue. So this is where I can see insights really quickly. But in Spain, Spain, and we're talking about frittatas, this is ruining everything. In Spain, we're spending a lot of money, not getting a lot of revenue. So again, just doing something like this, changing the shape, tells a story much, much, much quicker and different. What if we don't need to do something over time again? What if we just need to see a list? So we could just do a table with numbers, sure, but if we change the shape like this, so this is a horizontal bar, and I'm going to put in our top 10 again. Now what I can see here is this list by putting names top to bottom. This makes it easier for me by having a list as opposed to just having a table with black and white numbers. Again, hard for us to know what's happening. Here I can see Armenia, Greenland, Western Sahara, whatever. We can see the amount of spend happening as a list form. So again, changing the shape has a lot of merit to it. Now, that's okay, but is there a better way? There's always a better way that we can possibly do. Here is one with spend by different countries in a map form. If you go here and you go to popular charts, maps, you can pick this world chart. We have all these other ones here. And hey, if you have something called an SVG of whatever area you want, you can do custom and you can add in that map. So I am in Chicago, and I have a map of Chicago in here that I can use for later. But let's go back to here. So here I changed the shape. Now we had originally a table, then we moved to a bubble chart, then we moved to a horizontal chart, and now we actually have a map of the world. So now what I can start to see, okay, Greenland spending a lot of my money, right? But I can see very quickly where are the main countries where I'm spending a lot of money. Just changing the shape tells a story very differently to get the insight very, very, very quickly. So how does this relate to frittatas? Well, frittatas are normally made in a cast iron skillet like so. And it's just these eggs that get baked into an oven and they rise and looks like a little pancake with all these things. And this is okay. But what if we change the shape? What I like to do is I like to use a mini cupcake tin. By using a cupcake tin, it makes it smaller, bite sized. It's a lot more fun, actually. And what I like to do is if I have friends over or family, we'll each decorate our own mini frittata. And it's just kind of really, really fun. So it's the same exact ingredients, same cooking time, everything. We just change the shape a little bit, and we can change how we interact with our food, with our data, with our insights. Okay, the next thing I really want to talk about is color. Color. We can make things pop just by using some color. So again, our map of the world. Let me show you what I did here. If I go to chart types, maps, we pick the US, whatever. If I go to diverging, here's what we can do. If I turn off diverging, here's the color. And if I were to ask which country is spending the most money, sure, you can definitely figure it out by where it's super dark, right here, maybe Greenland, etc. But if I do something like this, like diverging, and I make the midpoint value the mean or median, whatever you want to pick, and I make that color yellow, and I say anything above it is above the mean is red, anything below it is green. Now I can start to see, wow, what's really spending money? See how this color pops out? We see dark red right here. We see dark red right here, dark red right here, dark red right here, right? It's just faster to be able to see what's happening. And even if I see this, if I zoom in, I can see really dark red happening right here. Again, my eyes are being able to very quickly see that just by changing some color. So that's one thing that we can do to show differences and insights very quickly. Remember, the name of the game, show insights super quickly, 1 to 3 seconds, basically. So that's by changing the color map. But what about if we had a table? And I think tables are actually pretty good if you can add color to them. So here is an example. Okay, so I'm just going to go to popular charts table, and I'm going to go to heat map options. And I pick heat map options. If I don't pick independent column ranges and I don't pick diverging, what happens is I have this color theme. I can pick whatever color theme that I want. And what happens here is all the colors are being judged against themselves. So any percentage has no chance against impressions, which are in the millions, right? So we're going to pick independent column ranges. And sure, if I pick a color, sure, they're all green relative to themselves. That's kind of helpful. But I'm going to pick show diverging. And instead here, my midpoint color is going to be yellow, which is the median in this case. Let's make it this way. Let's say anything above, like doing really good or has the higher number, is in green. Anything with the lower number is in red. Okay, cool. So now I can see, oof, I'm spending a lot of money here for Armenia, System of Down records. We're spending a lot of money right here. Not so good on the click-through rate. Oh, but these countries right here, Greenland, Western Sahara, Rwanda, a lot of money and pretty good revenue, and getting a really good click-through rate. So now my eyes can see what's happening much faster as opposed to just seeing a black and white table. And what I can also see here is like, ooh, I'm spending a lot of money here with Afghanistan, not a good click-through rate, not a lot of revenue coming. But see, my eyes are able to move really fast. Boom, our eyes move right here. United Kingdom, King Charles, what are you doing to us? Spending a lot of money, not getting a lot of revenue, not a good click-through rate. But you see, just these little things, having context, having your eyes move fast because of color, that's what's going to help us out. So this is a lot of color still, and sometimes this is still a little bit overwhelming. We have other options we can do. One is to do something like this. If I go here, this is just our horizontal bar chart. But the only thing that I did is I went down to color, and I want to make something pop. So by doing something like this, where I really want you to focus on company A, I'm just going to color, make company A red. Anything not in company A is gray. And what this forces you to do is it forces you to see company A. And see, I am dictating where your eyes are going because I want you to see the growth rate in company A spend over time, something like that. But again, just using color helps tell the story much more efficiently. So how do these relate to frittatas? Well, we have our basic eggs here, and we're going to take some boring eggs and some boring cream, and we're going to mix those together, and we're done. We kind of have a frittata, but we could add so much more to this. We can add some cool color to this. So what we're going to add a red bell pepper, green bell pepper. We have kale, we have basil, some goat cheese. Cool. Salt and pepper to taste at the end. And if you happen to have it, white pepper, which I think is better with eggs, and some nonstick spray. And we also have some balsamic glaze. So I'm just pulling apart the pieces of kale right here. We're going to shred them into smaller pieces because we're going to put them into mini frittatas. We're going to take our basil, roll it super tight. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to cut it horizontally. And by cutting it, like this cross section right here, we're going to be able to make these little basil ribbons, a little trick that just goes a long way. Again, getting some good color into our presentation that we're going to do here. Now, for bell peppers, I'm going to show you two ways to cut a bell pepper. One is you can stick the edge of your knife into the head of the bell pepper, cut around it, pull out the stem and the seeds. And if you just make another cut, you can flatten this whole bell pepper out. And if you have a flattened bell pepper, it's easier to do some chopping that we're going to do right here. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to put my blade against my fingers, curl in my fingertips, and I'm just cutting lengthwise right here, rough chops. And then I'm going to just turn it and do another dice, a rough dice right here. That's all we needed to be. Okay, that's one method to cut a bell pepper. The other method was we're going to take our bell pepper, flip it upside down. We're going to cut into those quadrants. And by cutting into these meridians or these quadrants right here, it allows me to do something pretty nifty. I can just pull apart every single bulb that I want right there. I just pull it apart and I make a little cut and I'm able to pull out this green bell pepper bulb. Okay, so now I'm going to cut off the head of this bulb just because I need this to be flattened. I'm going to do the same exact thing that we had talked about. I'm going to cut this horizontally first or lengthwise first. Easy. And again, I'm keeping my fingers curled in so that I don't get attacked by the blade. Turn it 90 degrees and we do another rough chop. So we have our base ingredients. The rest is pretty easy. We're going to take our eggs. We're going to do a one-handed trick. We're going to slap it onto a flat surface, open it up, and we're going to put all our egg yolks in here. My rule of thumb is if you're making mini frittatas, you want about 1 egg per mini frittata. So I just put them all in here. And you want about 1 tablespoon of cream. You can use cow milk. You can use soy milk, coconut milk. I've tried them all. They all kind of work. Put 1 tablespoon per egg that you have in here. So we're going to do that. And we are now just going to whisk everything together. And when I'm whisking in this back and forth motion, putting the eggs on top of themselves. Okay, so we're whisking all these eggs in here, and now we're going to spray down our pans, and we just have to ladle in our base egg yolk. So here we are putting in our egg yolks about 2/3 to half of the way up, and now we can dress it. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to put my goat cheese in. That's number 1 for me. I want that in kind of right away. Then we're going to put color. So here's color, right? By putting in this green kale, it helps to make something a little bit more vibrant. We're also going to add our green bell peppers and our red bell peppers. And look, when that red hits, it just makes this pop a little bit more. Put in the 400-degree oven for 20 minutes. And voila, this is what we have here. Looks so much better. I'm going to add some coarse salt to the mix. And we are also going to add some pepper. We're going to add our black ground pepper and our white pepper. Just sprinkle it on using your hands in there. Okay, but we are not done yet. These are cool. These look beautiful. But if I add just a little bit of balsamic dressing like so, glaze, it just makes it pop a little bit more and just makes it look so delicious and so mouthwatering. And that's what I want to show. Again, the frittata all the way on the left, it's exactly the same, except it doesn't have all those colors or those ingredients. And sure, it's there, it's going to feed you. But by putting some kale, some red bell pepper, green bell pepper, goat cheese, balsamic glaze, just makes it pop so much more. So that's the power of color in the context of dashboarding and food. Okay, the last thing I want to go over is context. And to me, this is the most important out of all the concepts that you're going to learn today about making your visuals pop. Context is key. I need to know what I'm looking at. So again, we have spend over time bar chart. Now I want to show you something. So let's say we have this chart right here, and this is for company A only. We have their spend over time. Great. This is kind of helpful, and I can kind of see that there is stuff on the rise maybe there, but I don't really know if I'm doing good or not if I'm company A. It's kind of hard for me to tell. So context is going to be key here. A reference point to show contrast. Is it good or is it bad? If I go to my y-axis and I hit goal and I put in a number, let's say I was looking for 100,000, whatever. My goal is 100,000. Now I have more context. So now what I can see here is, oh, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, only 8 months where we've managed to beat 100,000. Now I have context, and that's what I'm trying to show you. By putting something so small like a goal line in there, changes the game, changes the narrative of what you're trying to say. What if my goal was different though? What if my goal was only 50? Okay, now we have a better indicator. We have, okay, for the majority, we're doing really well. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months where we're below 50. So that context really, really matters for how you're going to present your data, right? You want to show what's good, what's bad, so you understand it. Okay, I'd like to show you some other ones too, in addition to that goal chart, is this one. Let's again pick on spend. Again, we have our goal here of 50,000. Cool. But by doing something so small like this, a little regression line, and how I'm going to do that is under chart properties, I'm going to go to regression line. That's it. And I said, make it thick and pick a color. And I could pick whatever color I want in here. Purple, sure, whatever. But now what I can see is my spend is going up over time. So now I have more context. I can have a better discussion of why is company A spending more over time compared to other companies, or it's beating the goal, so we're good, whatever, right? But I have more context of this. I'd like to show you a more real world example. So I am going to go to dashboarddudes.com, and I'm going to go to resources and templates. And template here is an example of context that we're going to show. So when I usually make dashboards like this, where I have this tile view right here, I like to do this whole month pacing thing. This says, hey, we're 150 days throughout the year. The average of days in the last 6 months is 29 days. This month happens to have 31 days into it, and we have 29 days that we've hit so far this month of May. So we're 93% of the way there. Okay, cool. Now I have context. I have an anchor point. So now if my eyes go down real fast, I could say, oh, sessions killing it, impressions killing it, clicks. We're doing so well. We're above 93. I can move this really fast to see how am I doing relative to 93. Oh, but spend. We're closer to 93 than all the other metrics. Okay. Look what I'm also doing. I'm doing these arrows in here. And again, the color and the number and the arrow tells me a lot of things. I'm doing well compared to where I was prior month. I'm at 54% for a click-through rate instead of 51%, so it's 6% increase. Cool. Oh, this is lower, but it's green. It must be good. See, color is helping me in here with the context of, okay, what's going down. But I have a red thing right here. Oh, my conversion pacing is low, and that red pops out and tells me, oof, we're not doing so good. So now I can have a better conversation with my teammates to say, why is conversion down? But I know exactly where to pinpoint and look, all because of color, shape, and context. Now I'd like to show you another one to show you context. So here in purple, I have this year, and in blue, it's 1 year ago. So this is a month over month and a year over year view at the same exact time. I can compare purple to blues within the same month, say, okay, May, I'm lower than I was last year. Okay, whatever. In March, I'm really low compared to where I was last year. Again, I can see it real fast. But I can also say, well, show me though, how am I doing month to month? Oh, okay, I went up in the purples up until March and then a little bit down, but it was the same exact thing that happened last year, so it might be normal seasonality. Okay, cool. See, I can see this real fast. But if I were to ask you, how am I doing compared to last year? It's hard to see it in here totally. On the right hand side, though, we have our cumulative view. So now I can say, hey, we were spending roughly the same amount as we did last year. But then we have this gap that's just been increasing, and we can see the delta, the gap right here compared to how far we are. Okay, shows you more context. Same exact thing if I'm looking at a relative percentage like ROAS or click-through rates or whatever. I have this regression line that show me I'm actually going down on my overall ROAS. So now I have more context as to am I doing well or not. Okay, and these are just different examples of how we can show color, shape, and context for all our dashboarding. So let's relate it back to Frittatas. On the left-hand side, we have a very basic plain frittata. It only has eggs and cream in it. That's it. On the right-hand side, we have the very decadent one that has goat cheese, kale, basil, red bell peppers, green bell peppers, whole shebang. And now we have a comparison. If you were to just see the left, you might not want to eat it, or you might have been okay with eating it. But until you see the one on the right that has all the stuff on it, now you know the one on the left could be amped up way more. So again, showing that different context helps out there to give you a reference point as to what's good and what's bad. Again, your job when making dashboards is to get insights to people very, very, very quickly, 1 to 3 seconds, so they understand what's happening. Why? Because if people can understand and digest the insights and data very easily, now you're distilling a data-driven culture in an organization, and that's what we want. We want people to get excited about the visuals. We don't want to present a black and white table that is very hard to digest, because now people are going to get disinterested and we are ruining our data-driven culture. With that, I have a special gift for you. If you go to this URL, what I have for you is a special gift. Now, what you can do here, if you put in your email, you will get access. You could see all these things that I have for you here. I have my grilled cheese video too, if you want to see my presentation on keeping a clean kitchen in data speak, as well as the actual whole video on making a grilled cheese. And here is what you get. You can come to here where you can see my recipes. You can see the initial video, the grilled cheese video, but you could also get access to all my chart types. So in the chart types right here, you can use all of these. You could see exactly what all these charts are. So you can choose what you want to tell your story, how you need it for your data to be ingested very, very easily. So take a look, and I hope it helps you on your dashboarding journey. Hey, if you'd like to learn more about dashboarding in Domo, I have a course specifically designed for that. If you go to dashboarddudes.com, if you go to courses, you can see here that I have this entire course where I go over Domo 101, 201, 301, and 401. And what that's going to cover your intro to Domo, how to use it, little things you might not have known. We're going to really go into ETLs, SQL, all chart types, getting used to that. And then in the 301, what you get to do with me is you get to learn little governance tips, how to clean things, and we're going to make some dashboards together. And then in 401, we're going to really amp it up. I'm showing you really cool tricks like how to use Workbench, different tool downloads like Microsoft plugins, as well as variables, alerts, security, using segments, all this really fun stuff. I would love to be your Domo dashboard guide and to help you out.